Jones. Minshew had the best touchdown to interception ratio of any rookie quarterback. He had the most wins of any rookie quarterback, and he started 3 less games than both Jones and Murray, yet nobody talks about that. So there's some good things happening here in Jacksonville, but obviously the national perspective is to focus on all the bad and focus on the rebuild.
Well, and I want to focus on the good, which is Minshew. Is he your Dak Prescott? Is he going to be the quarterback find in which all of a sudden you're going to turn around in 2-3 years and go, yeah, we don't have to draft somebody in the first round. We just got to pay this guy.
I think there's every possibility for that to happen. Now, it's a small sample size. He's only started 12 games. But again, and you guys know this, you've been following the league as long as I have, if not longer. 21 touchdowns and 6 picks for a rookie quarterback is good. A rookie quarterback, which did not realize he was going to play at all until Nick Foles goes in and gets hurt 10 plays in to the season. And then Gardner Minshew is thrown in there, a 6th-round rookie. Have at it, kid. No more Nick Foles. You're the guy. He goes in against Kansas City opening day and throws for like 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, cold off the bench. He's now had an entire training camp as the starter. He knows he is the guy. So I think there's a lot of things going in his favor. There's a lot of things that aren't going in his favor. Look, DJ Chark's a good receiver. Other than that, there's a lot of unknown. They got 2 rookies that are going to play a lot in Laviska Shenault and Colin Johnson. One from Texas, one from Colorado. By the way, for you fantasy football guys down there, keep your eye on Shenault. I think he's going to be a pretty good find in deeper fantasy leagues. But there is a lot of unproven guys on that offense. Minshew's going to have to work with less than what, say, Drew Lock has in Denver or what Daniel Jones has in New York. But if the Jaguars stay the course, these young guys all build together and grow together, they could potentially have something pretty good in a couple of years.
Well, and Mark, I'll say this. I saw Minshew in person early last year, and he looked like he belonged. He looked like he was the quarterback of that team, and he gets rid of the ball quickly, which helps that line out. And to put up those numbers, Mark, with, quite frankly, not the best set of skilled players and playing from behind for most of the year. I think Ryan's onto something here. I think Jacksonville actually may have found their quarterback.
Well, we shall see. And it sounds to me, Ryan, we talked last week with some folks, and they talk about gamers, and that, no preseason this year hurts the ability to be a gamer. How much would a guy like Minshew's chances be hurt if it were this year trying to break in as opposed to last year with preseason, a little more normalcy to how the start goes? Because the unrestricted free agents, the late round draft picks, they really are going to have a tough time this year, aren't they, Ryan?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Absolutely. And Minshew, talked about that. He was a 6th-rounder last year that was fortunate enough to play a little bit in the preseason. He was also fortunate enough the Jaguars literally had nothing else behind Nick Foles. So that's why he was here in the first place. And you talk about gamers, guys. You talk about, players in the league. Here's something else about Gardner that I personally love. The guy carries a giant chip on his shoulder. And I know a lot of guys say that. No, Gardner actually does. Gardner knows Daniel Jones and Kyler Murray get all the talk. He openly has talked about that. Gardner knows he was the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Week 7 times last year. 7 times. Was not on the ballot for the Rookie of the Year. How do you win the Offensive Rookie of the Week 7 times, but then you're not on the ballot to be the Rookie of the Year? And he's talked about that as well. Gardner also knows about Trevor Lawrence, and he makes no bones about it. He hears the tank for Trevor. He hears even his own fan base, people are talking about Trevor Lawrence. And Gardner, to me, is a little bit like a Favre in that sense, not on the field as far as playing ability, but just the moxie that he has, the anger that ensues when he feels like he's wronged and he wants to go out and prove a point. That's why this Jaguar team, to me, again, I'm not expecting a playoff run. I would be foolish to say that. But I'm more intrigued about this year's team because of the youth, because everybody nationally thinks they're going to be terrible. And I'm just curious to see what Gardner and this team can do to possibly prove some people wrong in that department.
Handicap the rest of the division for us quickly, though, because it's an interesting division in this sense. Houston has dominated it, yet they don't get a lot of respect because they've never had a significant playoff run, but they've won it 4 of the last 5 years. Indianapolis, a year ago at this time, before Andrew Luck retired, was thought of as maybe they had the up-and-coming roster in the division. Now they've added Phillip Rivers. And, of course, Tennessee's had 4 straight winning seasons and had the playoff run a year ago. Do you see this as a 2 playoff team division, or is it just a 1 playoff team division?
No, I mean, it was a 2 playoff team division last year. Keep in mind, guys, there were 2 playoff wins within this division last year. Houston won a playoff game. Tennessee won a couple of playoff games. So this division performed very well in the postseason last year. I don't like the DeAndre Hopkins trade in Houston. I'm not breaking any news there. But having said that, what people aren't talking about is this year when Houston goes in a 4 wide receiver set, you all of a sudden have Kenny Stills, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, and Randall Cobb. That's not bad for your top 4 wide receivers. They traded for Cooks out of L.A. They signed Randall Cobb from Dallas. So I like Houston. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's great. I have a little bit of question about Houston's secondary. Tennessee, I don't know, because they paid Derrick Henry. They obviously paid Ryan Tannehill, who that's another story. What was Ryan Tannehill 12 months ago? Now he's another $100 million man, so we'll see what happens there. And Indianapolis, I love what they did on defense with DeForest Buckner and Xavier Rhodes. I'm not the biggest Phillip Rivers fan. I mean, there's a reason that Los Angeles kind of wanted to move on from him. He's a great name, but I don't know if he's the Phillip Rivers of 5 years ago. So the bottom line, I think this is a very competitive division. I actually think the winner of this division probably be 10-6, 11-5. 4th place team, maybe 6-10, 7-9. I think all 4 teams are going to be jammed in there. And to prove that point, last year the Jaguars finished last, but they had the most wins of any last place team in the league. They finished 6-10, which 6 wins was the most of any last place team of any of the 8 divisions. I think you'll see something very similar, guys, again this year.
Ryan, thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. All the best to you and your family. Stay safe, and hopefully we can catch up maybe before that Thursday night Jacksonville game in a few weeks.
Hey, guys, anytime. Take care.
Ryan Green of 1010XL in Jacksonville. You can follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Green 1010XL. 3rd Thursday night game of the year. I believe it is the last Thursday of September, the 24th. Jacksonville hosting the Dolphins. I believe it is the only primetime game for both teams this year. Thursday nighter, Dolphins, Jaguars. Will we see Tua by then?
I hope not.
3.
I hope not. I really do.
I know
that you have to go throw a guy in. I'm just not sure that's the right move. I've got to switch gears a little bit, David, because I've got a little breaking news.
Do I need to do the fake sounder?
No, because it's not fun and it's not good and it's not worth joking around about. Just saw it. In fact, our radio station just tweeted it out from WJLA. Former Georgetown head coach John Thompson dies at the age of 78. Legendary coach.
And teammate of Bill Russell on the Celtics back in the day, and a huge presence. All right, for those of us of a certain era, and also if you were a huge fan of Big East basketball.
Yeah, first black man to win an NCAA championship as a coach.
3 times in 4 years, he and his Hoyas played for the national championship, 82, 84, and 85, losing by 1 to Carolina and by 2 to Villanova, but beating Hakeem and Phi Slama Jama to win the title in Seattle in 84. Also, John Thompson, long broadcasting career with Westwood One and the NCAA tournament.
Had him on the show several times.
In fact, John Thompson was on the radio call when FGCU beat his son.
Yep, he was.
And it was when Sherwood Brown was shaking the announcer's hands with about 30 seconds to go, and the Eagles are shooting free throws. And it was Kevin Harlan and Len Elmore and Reggie Miller on the TV call, but he's working his way down, and the next group next to him is the Westwood One guys. And I remember just looking to my left to see how is John Thompson going to receive Sherwood Brown as Sherwood is celebrating the apparent FGC win against his son. And John's got to be dying inside for his son. All right. And JT was very, very warm, very receptive to Sherwood, and had all from what people said that JT had really good things to say about FGCU down the stretch in that game. But sad news.
John Thompson passes away at the age of 78. And that leads us to today was the day when. That's next. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com. And we are back up and running. Sorry, folks. Twitch, YouTube, we're there. I don't know what I did. I have no idea. I effed everything up there. I'm sorry.
He got hurt in those last
Hey, well, you must have inadvertently hit a button. You've got a lot going on. It happens.
Son of a
Wearing
biscuit.
Seahawks jersey. You want to talk about a piece of crap, dude? You don't do that ever. All right, bud. See who you are. I'm not a fan.
Doug Gottlieb, afternoons at 3 on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's that time again to hear from our good friend, Dave Meister, Floormeisters in Naples. And we love talking to Dave. We know that when he calls, something special is going on at Floormeisters. Dave, sounds like you have a lot of that very popular Core-Tech that everyone is looking for and wants in their home.
Yes, we do, and we've got about 6 or 7 truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to guarantee a freeze of the prices on all our in-stock Core-Tech. We're not going to go up 50 cents a square foot, and we're going to save it for our customers.
So when it comes to Core-Tech, it's amazing the selection that you'll find at Floormeisters. They now have 100 colors for you to choose from, all ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Core-Tech.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Summer clearance event going on now at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever on over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles. All new Jeep Gladiator Overland lease, $399 per month. Loaded luxurious Grand Cherokee limited lease, $329 per month. New Ram Bighorn Crew Cab lease, $319 per month. That's right, award-winning Ram, $319 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler.
How about that NASCAR finish?
Free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $319 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
I'm not a fan of the stages to a race,
Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-100.
but
GallianaCars.com.
the playoff, at least in terms of getting to the playoff, I do like the suspense that they've created. You know, winning, you're in. The final few weeks, playing the points game.
He's talking about right and wrong.
We back it up.
Talk about what you know.
We are Fox
I'm
Sports Radio.
not totally sold on the playoff structure, though. When you've got a super speedway involved in the playoff,
Fox Sports
and you could just get caught up in the big wreck, and that could be it. But
Teachers, community heroes, both current and retired.
But the chase has worked for me. The stages are not, but the chase has.
What you continue to do for the Southwest Florida community, and that's why we're offering $1,500 off buy lot.
Yeah, I'm not watching IndyCar for the rest of this year.
Oh,
Teachers,
really? That did it for
Yeah.
you? How much
No.
are you going to watch otherwise?
Well, but you know, if I'm flipping around the channels, Mark, I'll stop on anything. But I'm not going to stop on IndyCar for the rest of the year. You're not going to.
I don't
not gonna,
blame you.
Fine, make fun of me all you want. Hey,
Tons of bitches.
you're going to ruin the Indy 500. I don't give a shit about anything else then. If you're that stupid.
2020 from your mobile phone and schedule your free LASIK screening today.
Sorry.
You teachers and first responders, you're the heroes. Dial ** 2020 from your mobile phone.
Let's face it, these are stressful times. New routines, the constant bombardment.
I think it was bullshit. They took a win away in the Kentucky Derby last year.
Frank,
I do too. Matt, you know I'm with you there, David. Not in that race. You want to do it in the Belmont when there's 8 horses? Fine.
You want to do it in the 4th race that day
No, but I mean,
Churchill Downs.
I mean,
It's fine, but
the Preakness or the Belmont. And I'm serious because they're only running, 12 or 13 in the Preakness, and you're running 8 or 9 in the Belmont. But when
there's 20 effing horses in that race.
It's a demolition derby. It's not a Formula One race, if you know what I mean.
Can make in your life. I've been a patient of
I mean, that's tough to do when there's no contact made between the horses.
Now I have the energy to
Shit.
And that'll put you in a good mood too. C4MH.com's express treatment plan is convenient, affordable, and above all, safe. And with locations all up and down West Florida, there's one near you right now. Find out more. Go to C4MH.com. Here we go.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
12 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We're streaming at millerandmoulton.com, and we are broadcasting live many a place, AM, FM, HD2, and the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channel. Simulcast, speaking of Twitch, on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 channel exclusively to Twitch.tv. If you missed the news in the last 10 minutes, it's being reported that legendary basketball coach John Thompson passing away today at the age of 78. Time now for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
Today was the day when, brought to you today by the Fort Myers Miracle. Remember when the baseball team used to have a logo you didn't have to explain to your children?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Very quickly, there was a Baseball America story last week in which they said there are 5 scenarios for the future of minor league baseball. 2 of the 5 were not good for the team currently known as the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles. And we thought that the Florida State League and the Mighty Muscles were going to be fine. But 2 of the 5 scenarios apparently are not good. But do continue.
We start today in 1946. In walkie-talkie hockey, we debuted Foghorn Leghorn, one of my all-time favorites in the Looney Tunes series. 1947, the New York Giants set a record for home runs by a club. It was 183 en route to 221. That's what the Yankees call May.
Right, or the Dodgers in this case, because they just set the all-time home run record in a month this past month.
1954, for those of you older and from the Northeast, may remember Hurricane Carol hits New England. 70 people died. It was the costliest hurricane ever at the time, and it was the first storm named to be retired. So that's why we've never had a Carol.
Well, and obviously...
We have a Hurricane Karen now since the whole Karen thing going so much. I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Also, here we are, August 31st, only the 3rd storm of that season. And what are we on, like 15, 16 already this year?
Yeah, we're already past M. N will be next because Laura and Marco were the last two. I hope I don't botch this name, and I was going to ask you before, and I forgot, David. 54, Cincinnati first baseman Ted Gluzitsky hits 2 home runs, first Red to ever hit 40 in a season. He would have 49. So I'm guessing Reds fan. Like, that's a big one for Reds fans. I don't know who he is. But it's like when you throw out a certain Tiger, for me, I know who it is.
He was a huge specimen also. I mean, considered big for his day, kind of McGuire-esque in terms of size.
That's why I wanted to get, I knew you'd have something for me there. 1972 with the Munich Games, Mark Spitz wrapped up his butterfly double with a world record in the 100, having already won the 200 in world record time, would then win the 4x200 freestyle today as well. 1979, in a battle of teenage tennis prodigies, 16-year-old Tracy Austin beats 14-year-old Andrea Jager 6-2, 6-2 at the Open. I was thinking about this, and I know we have no problem no matter how young a woman is, letting her play professionally. Golf, tennis, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have, the gymnast, obviously, at the Olympic level are all these very, very young. Figure skaters are very, very young. And we have no issue with that.
Well, they've had a couple of issues, like when Jennifer Capriati was coming along. I think she hadn't turned 14 yet, and I believe they instituted a rule you at least had to be 14 before you could play professionally. Didn't they on the LPGA Tour, like Lexi Thompson? Didn't she play for like 2 years?
Yeah.
And she wasn't an official member of the LPGA Tour, and yet she was 14 years old and winning. But she was.
But we just, as a society, we have no problem with women playing big time sports as young girls.
Yes, even though it's awkward.
Yes,
it is awkward.
Edwin Moses sets the 400-meter hurdle record today in 83. Curtis Strange sets golf earnings record for the year in 1987. Do you want to take a guess at what he made in 87, David?
$2 million.
Oh, no. $697,385. Well, what we like to call second place now.
I don't know. Might be fourth.
Well, I think about 700 second now for not this time of year, for a regular event, David. Michael Jackson's Bad video premiered on CBS tonight in 1987. Think about where we've got a video.
Mm-hmm. But what year was that?
87.
Right. Well, but remember, after Thriller,
and I got
and all those videos in which they were releasing them at 11, 12 o'clock at night on MTV and getting millions of people to watch the video release. He was kind of a big deal,
1990, Ken Griffey and Jr. become the first father and son to play on the same team, hit back-to-back signals in the first inning, and both scored. Today in college football, 1991, David Klingler threw 6 touchdown passes in the second quarter as Houston beat Louisiana Tech 73-3.
On his way to winning the Heisman and another great Cincinnati Bengals draft pick.
Princess Di died today in 1997. And Eddie George runs for 216 yards and scores a touchdown as the Oilers, playing their first game in Tennessee, beat Oakland in overtime at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, 24-21.
People forget that they played in Memphis. Wasn't it 2 years in Memphis?
Oh, yeah, 2 years.
And Jeff Fisher, they were a lot, in all honesty, they were a lot like FGCU the first year or two. FGCU didn't have the gym built. They didn't have facilities, and they were just a bunch of trailers. And I believe for at least the first year, if not the second year, that the Oilers were in Memphis, Jeff Fisher and the Oilers offices were in trailers.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with the great Jean Bellevue, former Montreal Canadian, born today in 1932. Frank Robinson would have been 85 years old today. Isaiah Aoki is 78 years old today. Thought he was going to be like the first Asian to win a major. He was so good for so long and could never get it done.
Finished second to Jack.
So many calls.
To Jack at the Baltusrol at the U.S. Open in 80.
George Ivan Morrison, born today in 1945. You know him better as Van Morrison. Richard Gere is 71. Marcia Clark, the district attorney in the OJ case, is 67. A man who I had more baseball cards of than maybe any other player in human history, Claudell Washington, is 66 years old today. Don't know why, but I think he was in every pack of baseball cards.
Yes, died earlier this year, would have been 66.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I'm with you on Claudell, who also played for about 8 different teams. So you had a bunch of different Claudell cards over the years. You had them with all these different teams.
He was a brave to me, David. He was a brave to me. Edwin Moses is 65. Andre Trefilov is 51. Padraig Harrington, 49. So was Chris Tucker. They're born on the same day. And Ramon Santiago, the only player to walk off Grand Slam home run to finish his career, is 41 years old today. For you, David, 2 more. Larry Fitzgerald, 37, and Charles Schwartzel is 36. Miller and Moulton, Fox Sports Radio.
Nice with the Charles Schwartzel reference.
You know that sweet trade-in deal we've been doing
For those that don't know, I was a columnist at the time for the Naples Daily News. This was in 2011. And I was trying to have some fun heading into my Sunday column because it was a golden anniversary year for the Masters. I think it was the 75th Masters. And like
Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan.
Tiger had won their 50th Masters, or no, Jack won the 50th Masters, and I think Arnie won the 25th. And so I was saying that, you know, a great player is going to win the 75th Masters. And that was the day Rory entered with a 4-shot lead. And I go, so the one thing we know is someone like Charles Schwartzel is not going to win the Masters.
It's a no-brainer, folks.
And so he birdies his last 4 holes to win the Masters.
Or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand.
And one of the great regrets that Miller and Moulton had was I saved the column, and Charles Schwartzel was at the Shark Shootout that year. And we desperately wanted to interview him.
I don't know that one.
To show him the column.
You're for idiots? What's going on?
Sounds more like
And hopefully to get him to autograph it.
Yep.
You're an idiot. Nice job.
And have some fun with it.
Let's talk.
And we had it set up, and it didn't happen.
Alexa,
hello.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
Finally, something worthwhile.
I didn't think it was going to be this easy.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing,
So,
Southwest Florida.
one of the things I wanted to get into that has nothing to do with sports, and I don't know when the time for this is, but I'm just going to throw it out to our gang here in the Twitch chat room.
License number CCC 32695.
What is the most douchey car that a guy can drive? Like, what car screams, I'm going through a midlife crisis, or I have small thumbs, if you know what I mean? Because I remember when Stan of Stan and Haney got his first vet. He got this vet, and it was, I didn't like it. I didn't like the color. It was almost purple. But Stan got a vet, and we'd always be out back. They'd go have their cigarettes. I'd even go back and talk to him during breaks once in a while. And I remember I looked at Stan when he had the vet, and I go, wow, Stan, I never knew you had a small whatnot. He got so mad at me. Like, he got mad. And I started laughing because I was teasing him. But, I mean, I always think of the vet as like and I like Corvettes. But if you're loaded and have 10 cars, we had him right now? I'm sorry. We'll continue this later.
And I'm assuming it's Deese.
Steve, good morning. Mark Miller down in Florida. How are you? I am good. We are going on here in a matter of about 30 seconds or so. Let me just patch you in. It's myself and David. David will talk first. I'm Mark. I go second. And thank you very much for your time, Steve. All right.
There's only one way to wake up in the morning. Yep, that's it. Miller,
I drove with him after I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you.
On the man of the house. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kobe Cooling Remote Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
And as we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Be safe. Be careful out there. It is the first day of school in Southwest Florida. It's been 5.5 months. So we got school buses, crossing guards, kids out there. Just take it slow if you can. We've got to get back in our normal routine. The good, the bad, and the ugly is about 45 minutes away. It's a pleasure to welcome Steve Deese, host of the Michigan Podcast, publisher of Wolverine Digest, which is part of the Sports Illustrated Network. You can follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Deese Show. Steve, top of the morning to you. Hope you and yours are well during these interesting times. How are you?
I'm doing about as well as could possibly be during these unprecedented times. And I believe the FCC mandates we have to drop unprecedented times at least once in every broadcast conversation. So tell your audience to take a drink.
All right. It
nice.
It is a fluid situation, Steve. We'll try to outdo each other with these during this interview. But you did an article here about Kevin Warren, the Big Ten, and all along when this started, I'll let you get into it, but all along, David and I were always of the opinion, why not try? And they pulled the plug very early, and you've just kind of fact-checked the Big Ten and come up with some different conclusions. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at what the actual data shows, guys. I mean, I did really complicated things. Like I went to the CDC's website and looked at stuff. I went to Worldometer and Johns Hopkins, where you can chronicle where things are at with active cases, chronic cases, serious cases, state by state. And I just took 15 minutes and wrote down all the numbers in our footprint for all the states in our footprint. And then I did this like really hard math where I divided it by the populations of those states and found that right now in our Big Ten footprint, 0.26% of people are a current active case of COVID-19. And that's with the testing module, by the way, that the New York Times called out over the weekend, when it pointed out that we are actually using a much higher viral threshold sensitivity in our testing than was recommended by the PCR test maker. And it's possible that in every state in the union, we are overestimating how many people are active case, anywhere from 40 to 90%, depending on how much higher of a sensitivity your state does. So that's not even accounting for that. That's just looking at the actual numbers we're releasing publicly. 0.26% of people in the Big Ten footprint are an active case. Less than 3% of our total of hospital beds are being used for COVID patients. And I just went on down the line with all these various data points. Nationwide, we have our lowest hospitalizations since March 21st. Less than 2% of ER visits in America are for COVID-19 right now. And so I asked the commissioner of the Big Ten, how much lower could these numbers possibly get without a meaningful vaccine? Unless we are fortunate that the second SARS burns itself out like the first one did and goes away on its own, without a meaningful vaccine, how can you do better than that with this many people, 330 million people in the country, and a footprint that's as densely populated as ours? I mean, guys, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the country. Maryland is the fifth most densely populated state in the country. And so how do we do any better than those numbers? And you'll notice when Kevin Warren released his clarification, whatever that was, a week or two ago, all he did was just give you a genetic meta narrative of the virus without any specifics whatsoever. And one more thing to make this answer way too long is last week when the Nebraska players hauled the conference off into court, the league's filing in defense of itself literally said that transparency would do the league harm. You bet your ass it would. Hell yeah, it would do the league harm. Yes.
He's Steve Deese, host of the Michigan Podcast, publisher of Wolverine Digest. You can follow him on Twitter at Steve Deese Show. All right. As best you can tell, do you believe that the university presidents and the Big Ten commissioner did what they did because of COVID or because of some other motive?
I think when you get this many people in a room and there's no transparency, and I think one thing that's different, I've spent a lot of time, I used to live in Florida. I've spent a lot of time in you guys' part of the country. And I remember when Jerry DiNardo, I covered the first Big Ten media days when Jerry DiNardo got the job at Indiana. And he had just come from Vanderbilt, I think. And he had previously coached at LSU. And the first question he got was, what's the difference between coaching in the SEC and the Big Ten? And his answer was, well, we didn't have faculty reps in the SEC. Okay, I think what's different here, okay, what's different up here is that then this goes back to like the Northwest Ordinance days. We were the first states after the Revolution. And a lot of our universities were chartered as land-grant institutions in those early days and had direct ties to the Ivy League schools out east. And so if you look at the University of Michigan, our president, Mark Schlissel, who in 5 years has never visited the football building once, including this past summer, to see, and he's an immunologist, by the way, to see if the protocols and his players were safe. Never bothered to stop by and see how they were doing. He's from Brown University. And there's a lot of cross-pollination between the Big Ten and the Ivy League. In the 1980s, when the University of Iowa had the number one football team in the country under Hayden Fry, their school president, Hunter Rawlings, was trying to get rid of freshman eligibility and scholarship sports. There is a different academic atmosphere here, and Jim Delaney conquered this because in the end, money usually wins out, and he knew how to make a hell of a lot of it. And then when he put the network in place and everybody laughed and said it wouldn't work and it became a printing press for cash, that silenced a lot of these presidents. And I think what happened here is these presidents with a rookie commissioner who has shown and that he's frankly more interested in pontificating on politics. I mean, it was just back in June, he told Yahoo Sports that he hopes he can use Big Ten athletes to sway the presidential election. And so I think you have a rookie commissioner with no clout who maybe has some bigger, dreams to use this as a launching pad for. And I think these university presidents use this circumstance to reassert their control over our league because Jim Delaney ruled it with an iron fist for so long. And I think that was their plan here. And that's why they have a formal vote. They can't even publicly get themselves straight on that. The University of Minnesota president says they didn't. The University of Nebraska president says that they did. I think this was all done by a cabal of very elitist, institutional educrats that thought this was our way to get back control of this football monstrosity. And it has blown up in their faces. And that's why they're backtracking right now in real time.
You can tell that he's a Michigan guy. As a Michigan State alum, you can hear how much smarter he is than I am right off the bat. This just makes.
Hey, you want to be depressed, brother? I actually went to Michigan State because they wouldn't let me into Michigan. My ACT score on the math portion was so low, I had to go to Sparty, but I just went there and rooted for Michigan the whole time.
There were a few of you. There were a few of you around there. I do remember that
I was
contingent.
not alone. We used to hang out all the time at Wonders Hall. I know. Yeah, you bet.
Wonderful dorm. A lot of good sites on that place. All right, Steve, does Warren see year two? I mean, really and truly, with all that you spelled out, yeah, he has bigger aspirations, but this is blown up in his face. The Big Ten is the laughing stock of the country as of right now from a football standpoint. I mean, they actually were able to pull off something that's really hard. The Pac-10 is so irrelevant that no one even cares that the Pac-10's not playing football right now, and the Big Ten's taking the brunt of all of this. So with all that being said, does Warren see year two?
I think if they don't play football by Thanksgiving weekend at the latest, no is the answer. I think he, the athletic directors were 14-0 that they wanted to play. He didn't align with his ADs at all, but just allowed himself to essentially operate like an NFL commissioner does, where he is a tool of the owners. I mean, Roger Goodell's job is to go out there and speak for the owners and take slings and arrows. So they don't have to. And you have to really just be as dumb as Daniel Snyder to take heat as an NFL owner with a commissioner out there. And so that's his job right now, or what he perceives, I think, to be his job. We don't really know what the Big Ten commissioner's job is post Jim Delaney. I think Kevin Warren viewed his job coming from the NFL to be a proxy for the owners. He has alienated his athletic directors. He has alienated his coaches. I promise you, Michigan is beyond furious. But given that Ohio State is willing to take the lead in storming that Bastille, I think you're seeing Jim Harbaugh just politically decide there's no point in stepping face to face to my university president when Ohio State, frankly, right now is the bigger brand and they're doing all the dirty work. Let them do it. I mean, it's open revolt what Ohio State is doing. I mean, go back to the day Kevin Warren, and God bless him for it, by the way, but go back to the day Kevin Warren released his clarification. Literally 5 minutes later, Gene Smith came off the top rope like Jimmy Superfly Snuka at WrestleMania, okay, on Don Morocco with the flying elbow and just dunked on him and said, here's our own statement. We're working on bringing football back as soon as absolutely possible this fall. So he is right now a king without a castle. And I think what he's probably trying to decide to do, I mean, he's got the worst, I worked full time in politics. And so we have this word in politics, optics. This is the worst political optics since the TARP bailout 10 years ago, when my son is going to play in the SEC while you can't play in the league that I'm the commissioner of. I mean, that is so colossally, politically, cosmically devastating. It trumps every argument he would bring. And so I think right now he's probably trying to gauge, what's my future here? Is my future aligning with the transient presidents who come and go? They wield the true power, yeah, but they also come and go. Or with the athletic directors that stay at schools at the Big Ten for years and years and years and oversee the athletic departments. And I think he's probably trying to gauge that right now. You can see that they're backtracking in real time. I think they're trying to split the baby in half. But I think what you're likely going to see in the next week or two is I think you're going to see Ohio State stand up, and God bless them again, and they're going to say, hey, if we're going to start Thanksgiving weekend, our teams are testing right now. They've been practicing the entire time. It's the 1st of September. Why don't we just go the 1st of October? We just need 4 weeks of padded camp to get ready to go. We can still have our teams vie for the playoff, for individual awards. Why would we start our season at the tail end of everybody else's season? If we're going to go that early, let's just go in October. And I think the only reason they wouldn't do it is if the conspiracy theory that a bunch of Democratic governors like Whitmer in Michigan, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they have gotten together and decided it would help the election to just piss people off and take their football away. Unless it's politicized, there's really no reason they wouldn't do that.
By the way, Mark, we always struggle for a poll question, and I do think if we want to go down a certain road, we can go have a bad optics poll question. What's worse, Kevin Warren's kid playing at Mississippi State this year while there's no Big Ten football, or Dukakis in the tank? Okay, that could be our, if we're going to mix the two, sports and politics, that could be our poll question. We're talking with Steve Deese, host of the Michigan Podcast, also publisher of Wolverine Digest. Follow him on Twitter at Steve Deese Show. Well, let's go down this road a little bit further. I mean, is there going to be a full-fledged revolt? Is there some there to the Big Ten actually playing some football this fall? Because, Steve, I'm with you. If they're, in theory, already practicing and testing now, I mean, Steve, they could play the final weekend of this month, quite frankly. They could get going September 26th. I do think it's worth noting Fox and ESPN have not announced their schedules beyond Labor Day weekend. It's almost as if they're both still holding out hope for Big Ten games on their schedule. Is there, or is this just all sports talk radio that we're going to have Big Ten football in the fall?
The Thanksgiving is the fall. So the answer is yes. Okay. I believe that is the absolute latest they're going to start. And so I think when you look at the anecdotal evidence that you just cited, and then you throw in other things like the College Football Playoff Committee just made it plain last week that their announcements of what they're going to do and what they're not going to do were specifically targeted at the Big Ten. See, everybody keeps talking about, you referenced it earlier, the whole Pac-12 situation. The reality is this is where you can't escape the connection between politics and sports. The Pacific Northwest is the one region of the country where lockdowns are exceedingly popular. Okay. And so if the Pac-12 decided we're never playing college football again until there's a vaccine, their fans and players would applaud. Not to mention there's only one school in the Pac-12, guys, that was in the top 20 in attendance nationally last year. That's the University of Washington. They were 18th. Their television, package is a joke. Their league is a joke. No one really cares about them. And so this is the first time the Big Ten's ever been isolated. The Big Ten really thought that the ACC, because those leagues are very similar. There's a lot of elite public universities, Virginia, North Carolina, and then you throw in elite private universities, Wake Forest, Miami, Duke, Notre Dame. I think the Big Ten really thought that league would follow its lead and say, yes, you're right. With furrowed brow, it's not safe to play. Instead, what that league did was, dude, screw that noise. We just created a TV network last year, and now you're telling us we get Notre Dame on our channel every damn week? We're in. We'll figure it out. I mean, that's what the ACC did. And so the Big Ten was like, oh. And now it's left kind of on its own. And it's the first time that this league has ever been isolated. I mean, this was the league that kicked off expansion with Penn State, and then the SEC answered. This was the league that kicked off its own television network, and then the SEC answered. This has been the trailblazer league in the Jim Delaney era. It's the first time it's ever been, we've ever put baby in a corner here. And I think there's a lot of anticipation that with a weak commissioner and school presidents who are seeing their futures crash right now before their eyes. Because I can promise you, there are trial lawyers in probably every Big Ten footprint state right now trying to get players to march into a district court and file some kind of claim to get discovery against the league. Tom Mars is involved in FOIA and discovery against the conference. this doesn't end well. And I think one way that you can just make it go away is you use the latest evidence and the new testing innovations. The saliva-based test in Illinois, the one from Abbott Labs, that's just $5. The one from the NBA, that's $4 a sample to process. You use that as your out card, and you say, you know what? We didn't have these things when we made our announcement. This was our biggest concern, was the cost of affordable rapid testing. Now we've even got self-contained testing. And so you use that to save face, and you say, hey, we're starting first week of October, mid-October at the absolute latest. And I think right now it's 50-50 that that's what's going to happen.
We had Jake Paterno on a couple of weeks ago, and he's on the board at Penn State and just was lock in step. And this is not $50 million from the Big Ten network. This is $400 to $500 million on the whole university system. We've got the University of Miami that announced they're going to have fans at their games, but their students can't attend, which is the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in my life. But lastly, when it involves the big, in all of these schools, Steve, you look at Michigan State, because I have friends whose kids are going there. They have tried to bait and switch with the schools. They want us to get our kids on campus, pay for dorms, and then make online classes. I mean, what's going on beyond just the sports side of this, Steve? The university system, David and I have been talking about this for months, is dependent on kids on campus, and they've pulled a large bait and switch on the American public of getting these kids on campus.
That's exactly right. And if Kevin Warren's son weren't playing in the SEC, that would be the bad optic talking point to rule them all. It's just Kevin Warren's son playing in the SEC. There's low-lying fruit, and then there's when the fruit falls off the tree when it's perfectly ripe, lands in your hand, and says, take a bite out of me. That's the Kevin Warren talking point. You can't lose that argument. You win it by just stating it. This one, if it weren't for those optics, this would be the main argument, brother, is what you just said, is that, okay, because it was the main argument until Kevin Warren's kid was able to play and the Big Ten wasn't. If you listen to a lot of the national shows around the country, they were asking questions like, why can the students return, but the players who get the best health care, who are already, let's face it, and even in the Big Ten, which likes to pretend it has a moral high ground, it usually does not. Those players are still isolated more from the student body than the rest of the student body. So they're already getting the best preventative care. They're already somewhat isolated from the student body. I mean, why are they safer at home than they would be playing football? And you look what happened in Oklahoma. Right before Oklahoma sent everybody home, when there was a little uncertainty what was going to happen with the Big 12, they sent everybody home for a week. They had 0 positive tests the week before they did that. They brought everybody back. They had 9 positives. All right. And so there's no question those players are getting better health care, more discipline and structure in that environment than they would be at home. They don't have a winning argument. They simply don't. If you look at the case fatality rate nationwide for the virus, since July 1st, it's 1.5%. Your state, despite all the fake news out there, has actually outperformed the entire country in case fatality rate. If you look at what we've done in terms of positive tests, they've gone down 30% just since the 1st of August. All right. Now you've got the CDC saying, you know what, man, this thing is waned so much, we're going to even test for asymptomatic spread anymore. They don't have any more talking points. There's no panic porn left. And so now it really all just is politics. And I work in that field full time. So if you want to see football, in the end, here's what wins in politics. Leverage wins. Whoever's got leverage wins.
So for the record, all right, Steve has gone Jimmy Superfly Snuka, fake news, and panic porn. All right. I think it's important to just point this stuff out during the course of the interview. Steve Dees, host of the Michigan podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Steve Dees Show. Very quickly, do you think, how many more days can we go until guys start transferring? And that's what I keep waiting for. I keep waiting for, LSU just lost a wide receiver. They're also in need of a shutdown corner. I mean, if you know what I mean. I mean, the SEC schools, Big 12 schools that are, signs, we're open. I mean, how much longer does this go before A, they start losing players immediately, and B, Steve, since you're so close to Michigan, we thought of all the programs in the Big Ten that could really be damaged by this going forward. It's Michigan, who has to recruit nationally to get their players now. They just can't get them in their own backyard. Ohio State will be fine. Penn State will be mostly fine. We feel this could really impact Michigan football. The athletes of today, do you think they're transferring? And B, do you think this has legs and hurts Big Ten programs going forward?
I think that the transfer thing, the NCAA shut the door on that for immediate eligibility about a week or two ago. So, I mean, they can leave if they want, but there's not a guarantee. They have to go through the appeal process and everything else. That takes time. And then you have to ask yourself, how many spots are there left truly on a team? So I think that whatever capital the league has left, it probably got the NCAA to leverage the NCAA to close that as a potential loophole, what you just mentioned. On the recruiting front, it's fascinating if you look at Ohio State. What Urban Meyer really did is expanded them to a national recruiting base. The same day the Big Ten announced they were going to lose or they were going to cancel the fall season, Ohio State lost, I think, its top defensive line prospect, decommitted, 5-star, said he wanted to go play in a league that valued football. I think this hurts the league without question comprehensively. I think when you look at Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State historically, and with their alumni bases and support, eventually they will bounce back. Harbaugh's probably having one of his best recruiting classes this year. Actually, it's just Ohio State has one that's intergalactically good. But the programs that were really coming up in recruiting in our league, Purdue was really recruiting well under Jeff Brom. You look at Iowa having one of its best classes, Wisconsin having one of its best classes, Minnesota having the best recruiting class it has had in decades. I think those programs get hurt by this if we don't play football this fall.
And Steve, my final question is, if we were sitting down at Zingerman's right now for a little lunch, what would you be going with?
Well, I tell you, it's way too overpriced here. Number one.
I understand, but I can't not stop there.
In for the pizza, but you have to eat it in the restaurant instead. That would be my recommendation. But if we're going to go to Zingerman's, then I'm going to say whatever has the most turkey that you can get on it, because that's like the best whole food protein source you can eat. And I need to do more of that, frankly.
He's Steve Dees, host of the Michigan Podcast, publisher of Wolverine Digest, also hosts the show at The Blaze. You can follow him on Twitter at Steve Dees, as in Peace Show. Steve Dees Show. Steve, thanks for being so generous with your time, particularly at this hour. Hopefully we can do this again. All the best.
You bet, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve Dees, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. The Jimmy Superfly Snuka reference was when he had me.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think now. It escapes me because I was going to write it down. Who did he hit? He went like Ted DiBiase. He threw another name out. Oh, Don Morocco. That's what.
Right.
It wasn't anybody can go Superfly Snuka. I mean, no offense, David. We all know Superfly Snuka. The fact that he was able to pull that off at the back end really impressed me.
I always thought of Snuka with the sleeper hold personally, but okay.
Oh no, the elbow.
All right. Maybe it's because he put me in the sleeper hold. Maybe that's why I think of Snuka with the sleeper hold. We've got some breaking news for the second time today, and we'll bring it to you after the break. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah, gang, and the other side of this, I mean, he does do a show on the Blaze, because this is basically red meat to the Lions bringing him on down here. And I know not all of you think that way, but come on. We're about 70% red down here.
Comeback story in stopping the virus will be in the books.
We will have a great victory.
Our story continues
And return to our lives, great lives.
on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
It's Fred Kobe with your Kobe Cooling Tip of the Day. We're not the best AC contractor.
Not in the 8:30 segment, I can guarantee you that, fan. We're not doing 5 minor. In fact, I can guarantee a fan that if he starts doing 5 minor league baseball scenarios for a segment, I'll fall asleep.
Don't use jack of all trade technicians. Our team members
We are efforting the Baseball America guy to get him on the show this week to talk about it, but not today.
Not just living up to the
And probably not in the 8 o'clock hour.
We're living up to your expectations too.
But
maybe in the 9 o'clock hour.
Best air conditioning contractor year after year in the news press poll. We're the best because
it is noteworthy, though.
Because we do. Call us at
Steve Dees is terrific.
1542. License
Yep.
CO57.
That was a 23-minute segment that felt like 12.
Breakfast sandwich.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah.
Just how you like it. Your sausage sizzling and your eggs fluffy. A full breakfast nestled between two.
My phone just blew up with the breaking news.
The new hot cake breakfast sandwich is almost too good to be true. Wake up you're happy with the new hot cake breakfast sandwich, part of the 2-3 more breakfast menu at Hardee's. Feed you're happy. Offer valid for a limited time during regular breakfast hours at participating Hardee's restaurants. Tax not included. Price and participation may vary. Hardee's presents the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger. It's just like the Western Bacon Cheeseburger with charcoal and topped with tangy barbecue sauce.
I got it. I got a sounder.
We took a burger that was already delicious and spiced it up. Why are we using this whip crack to explain it? Because jalapenos sound like this. Try the new spicy Western Bacon Cheeseburger at Hardee's. Feed your happy. Limited time only at participating Hardee's restaurants. Price and participation may vary.
94.1 Estero. We are
Hey, check this out, Southwest Florida. You know that sweet trade-in deal we've been doing here at Naples Nissan? Naples Nissan is going to give you the original
Fixed starts.
MSRP for it.
That's what I was working on.
Yeah. So whatever that Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan, or Honda was worth 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago is exactly what it'll be worth now, but only at Naples Nissan. Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, Chevy, yep, we'll take those too. Let's see here. A brand new Nissan or that old 2012 you're driving now that needs new tires. Bluetooth, no Bluetooth. Backup camera, no backup camera. Come on, it's a no-brainer, folks. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand new Nissan today. Offers on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tech flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tech in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tech that you have. You also have other Core-Tech products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tech stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tech, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tech wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton. You're live.
Bottom of the hour, 30 minutes before the top of the hour, the home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this final day of August and first day of school throughout Southwest Florida. Please.
They're still in school. We've started. They have not been sent home yet.
Please be careful. All right. School children, school buses, crosswalks, a lot more blinking lights, cones. We haven't had this on the roads for 5.5 months. Just be careful out there.
Aggravated mothers driving their kids to school who wouldn't get out of bed this morning for them.
So we may need a few days this week to readjust. That's all I'm saying. There are roadblocks in our way that haven't been there for a long time now. So that's all. But we had breaking news last hour.
Sorry, David. I got your pause and I played the music.
And the breaking news last hour was the passing of John Thompson at the age of 78. This not nearly as serious, but still very surprising, at least to me. Mark?
Leonard Fournette has been waived by the Jacksonville Jaguars. In fact, in the Jags tweet, it said, "We have waived running back Leonard Fournette." That's a lot of info in a short sentence. They went we.
They did.
They didn't do the Leonard Fournette has been released by the team today. We, collectively as a team, are so done with him, we couldn't wait to release him. Hope all of you had your fantasy football drafts over the weekend and you didn't take Leonard Fournette on your team. I imagine that he could be driving to Tampa today for a new job.
Or Miami.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or, I mean, I don't know what people's opinion of Fournette are. First off, he's only played 3 years in the league. He was born in 1995. So he's 25 years old this year. That's it. He's only got 3 years of wear and tear on him. He only had 3 years of wear and tear on him in college. And his final year, he didn't have a ton of it because he only played half the year. He averaged 4.3 yards a carry last year, and he caught 76 passes. I mean, he caught more passes last year than his first 2 years combined. Now, he only scored 3 touchdowns rushing last year. How much of that is him, and how much of that is the Jags? But, wow. And they couldn't get a trade partner? They released him and indicated that they've been trying to trade him all offseason. Really? I mean, Kalen Ballage got a conditional 7th-round pick, even though that trade was voided yesterday because apparently Ballage has a hamstring injury and the Jets failed him on his physical. But you know what I'm getting at here. And I know Fournette's got a little salary that comes with him because he was the 4th overall pick of the draft. But you mean to tell me you can't get a team to give you a conditional 5th, 6th, or 7th-round pick for Leonard Fournette? Seriously?
All right. I just want to do this for you really quickly. Myles Garrett was taken 1st overall. Mitchell Trubisky was taken next.
Uh-huh.
Solomon Thomas taken 3rd.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette was taken 4th.
Right.
If it wasn't for Trubisky, the rate at which we would be killing this draft pick is immeasurable.
Yeah. Listen, his second year was awful. It was awful. He got hurt. He was out of shape, had a bad attitude, the whole deal. I thought he was a different guy last year. Thought he came into the best shape of his career. Mark, his numbers were pretty damn good on a bad team. I mean, are we sure about this?
Is Gardner Minshew can't be very happy today.
I mean, it's not like they can't afford him. Now, granted, they may not want to pay him. And I will say you can take the money you don't spend this year and use it on next year's cap. And there is a method to that madness, because if the cap's going to be flat or go down because of all the lost revenue this year, there are a lot of teams that are going to take $20, $30 million of unspent money this year, move it to next year's cap, and give them a lot more money they can spend. So, there is a method to this madness. It is surprising to me, though, that none of the 31 other teams weren't willing to give up even a draft pick for the guy.
Well, because then you got to take on the contract.
I understand, but But he didn't get an extension. This is only the 4th year mark of his rookie deal. Also, it's not even the huge 5th-year option year money. This is just the 4th year coming up of his rookie deal.
David, I don't get it. But Jacksonville is done with everybody. They have Gardner Minshew. They have a receiver. And, Brian Green on the show said that he thinks they're a 5, 6, 7 win team. I would love to almost interview him now and say, you still got that same number.
I mean, if you're the Washington Redskins, how could this not interest you?
David, it's going to interest, because now the value, he's not going to get paid a lot of money. You're going to get him at less than what his value is because he was just released. I think there's a boatload of teams that are going to be interested in Leonard Fournette. Basically because of the one stat you gave. How many balls did he catch last year?
He caught 76 passes, Mark. I mean, that's almost 5 a game. He averaged 4.3 yards a rush. He actually statistically had a much better year last year than he had his rookie year. He rushed for over 100 yards more, a half a yard per carry more, caught 40 more passes than he did as a rookie. Now, he scored less touchdowns, but then again, he played on a bad team. They were behind all the time. His rookie year, he was playing on a good team with a great defense, and they were in the lead, so they ran the ball. Wow.
Can I switch gears and go back to a little bit of our last interview?
Sure.
Because since we had that interview on Twitter a few minutes ago, as I had the Fournette thing open, Graham Couch, who we've had on the show before, writer for the Lansing State Journal.
Right.
His column today is about the Michigan High School Athletic Association, which, as we speak, is trying to reverse course and play football this fall. I think that's worth noting, given the fact that the Big Ten is trying to make this last-ditch effort to have some sort of fall football. If, in fact, the governor of the state of Michigan allows the Michigan High School Athletic Association to reverse course and play football here in the next few weeks, what choice would she have then if the Big Ten wanted to start something? Again, it's high school sports, and I know no one cares about Michigan high school sports, but given the fact of what we just heard about what's going on with the state of Michigan and the Big Ten and Steve Deese and what he talked about, out schools wanting to play football, I do think this is relevant, David.
Oh, it's completely relevant because the governor of Michigan has been adamant in wanting things to stay shut down. And now I will say this, no matter your politics, and you may disagree with her and you may not agree politically with her, but I will say Michigan's numbers have been good. They've been better than a lot of her counterparts. I mean, from a COVID standpoint, okay, she's got some ground that she can stand on and say, you may not like what I've done, okay, but COVID-wise, this has worked out well. Economically, that's a different argument. But she can stand on her ground and argue her point.
Not as much today, though, with some of the evidence that Steve pointed out and the fact that the other bit of news that came out is the number of people that died of just pure COVID is very low.
Right.
So I think some of the statistical information that has come out here in the last 72 hours bodes well for football in the North, and I just thought it would be interesting. Again, Michigan was hell-bent on not playing football, so it's something worth pointing out.
Well, Mark, also, let's face facts. There are certain states that are joined at the hip, that have rivalries. What took place over the weekend in the state to the south? They played high school football. They played high school football in Ohio.
Right.
All right. And we've talked about this. All right. We first off, we thought Ohio State had all the power to begin with. But we kept saying, imagine how Ohio State is going to react to this when they're playing high school football on Fridays. The Cincinnati Bearcats, who are nationally ranked, and once we get to the second poll, when they're in the top 15 in the country, okay, nationally ranked and playing on Saturdays, and the Bengals and Browns both playing on Sundays. And there's some excitement in the state about both. Bengals fans excited because of Joe Burrow. Browns fans feel like they've got a playoff team. So Friday night excitement. Cincinnati Bearcats have got a little something going on. For as much as we want to talk about UCF being the team to run the table from the AAC and potentially play their way into the 4 seed and the playoff, the Cincinnati Bearcats think they're that team that can do it. Thank you very much. Particularly with the big non-conference games no longer on their schedule. I mean, UCF and Cincinnati both looking going, we can run the table in the AAC. We can throw 9-10 wins up on the board there and go fold our arms and go, oh, why not us? So, yeah, it's definitely a relevant story. Right now, I don't think the Big Ten can hold out to Thanksgiving.
Well, how long has it been since Warren made this announcement? Are we 2 weeks?
No, we're
3.
3. He made it at the first week of August is when he made it.
3 weeks away. And I think to our point, David, not to yours, not to mine, but to our point, we have been pointing this out since Rudy Gobert tested positive and the NBA season was postponed.
Right.
3 weeks. Do you know how many times that David and I said, hey, that was 3 weeks ago? Look at how much has changed in the last 3 weeks. You could go back and listen to 6 months of this show, and I guarantee you we said it 50, 60, 80, 100 times. And that was when the Big Ten decided to not play. David's first words, not mine, where I can't believe they're not going to try.
And I believe they announced on Thursday, August 6th or Friday, August 7th, was when I believe that they announced. So we're talking 3.5 weeks ago. And yes, look at how much has changed both ways. Because remember, when they announced, the feeling was the other three conferences were going to go along with that. The SEC was holding out and they had no one who would come with them. And then look what happened. And now look at how the dominoes and everything have fallen. Mark, here's another reason why I don't think Thanksgiving works. It's too late because they're going to want to get Ohio State or whoever in the playoff. Okay, well, they're not going to get their season in by the time that the playoff committee announces these are the 4 teams. Okay, so to me, it's kind of like they're going to want to play their 8 or 9 conference games. They're going to have to play by mid-October. They're going to have to get their 8-9 games in by mid-December and then have the playoff committee go, okay. Instead, they start around Thanksgiving. They will have only played 4 or 5 games. You can't put a Big Ten team in the playoff.
Nope. Well, Ohio State you can. Nobody else from the Big Ten.
Right. I mean, UCF at 10-0 or Ohio State at 4-0.
Ohio State.
Right. We all know who would get the 4 spot.
But just in the 3.5 weeks, David, as Steve pointed out and as we've pointed out, the Abbott test, the other test, there's 2-3 new tests now that are cheap that have happened.
The New York Times story yesterday could be a complete game changer on many fronts: sports, politics, health, and more.
So while Michigan high school trying to make a bid, I think that has a lot to do with what's going on in the Big Ten. And David, I think you're onto something. There's no way it can be Thanksgiving. And it seems to me what you said, if they were to have enough guts to do it today or tomorrow, they could do this 4 weeks from Saturday.
There are 5 Saturdays in October, too. All right. In terms of, you need weekends to play. You got 5 Saturdays in October, obviously 4 in November. And now the SEC championship game is the 3rd Saturday in December. It's the 19th. Well, they're not going to announce the playoff teams before that. All right. So think about how long, if you're the Big Ten, if you can get going by week 1 of October, you've got 12 weekends to play however many games you want to play. Now, if you're only going to play 8 or 9 conference games and then a Big Ten championship, and what do you think they do, Mark? They play 8 or 9.
They could play, with what you just spelled out, realistic, if you started the last Saturday in September, that's 1, that's 6.
Well, I think that's early. I think that's early.
First week in October.
Right. They've got 12
5,
weeks.
9, 10, have your championship game the 3rd week in December. You could play 10 conference games. It's not that hard.
Well, you could, in essence, then you'd have 11 weeks to play 10 games if you start first weekend in October and then play your Big Ten championship game. So you could do exactly with what the SEC is doing. The SEC is giving themselves a bye week, the 2nd weekend of December, for any makeup games that may potentially have to be played. And then they're having their championship game on the 19th.
By the way, the answer is, just quickly, the answer is Raquel Armstead. The question, who is now the starting running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars? That's their depth chart. Raquel Armstead, Chris Thompson, and Divine Ozigbo. Those are your 3 Jags running backs right now.
Yeah, listen, I'm appreciative of Ryan Green of 1010XL, who came on our show last hour. And I know he thinks that the Jags can duplicate their win total of last year, which is 6. I don't think so. I think they're in a teardown, which, by the way, to me, why is Doug Marrone coaching this team in the final year of a contract? I mean, this is absurd. I mean, are you saying Doug Marrone is to win this year? You're getting a new coach? Well, he's not going to win this year. No one's going to win this year with that roster. Belichick wouldn't have a winning season with that roster this year. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's why we do have to question Khan as an owner, Mark. Okay, to keep that personnel guy who's made so many mistakes. Leonard Fournette was the 4th pick of the draft, by the way. Christian McCaffrey went 8th. Mahomes and Deshaun Watson went 10th and 12th. You took Fournette at 4. McCaffrey, Watson, Mahomes, 8, 10, and 12. Same draft. I mean, those are 3 of what? The 10 best players in the NFL?
Yep. And the fact of the matter is, David, this guy caught 76 balls last year, averaged 4.3 from the ground. He did not have a bad year. This does not make any sense. This is seemingly like what Chip Kelly did with the Eagles. Hey, you're a good player and you got a little bit of an attitude. You got to go.
This is
it doesn't make any sense, David.
This is saving money for next year's cap, is what it is, quite frankly. They're going to use his money for next year's cap. Play it forward. 13 minutes before the hour, the good, the bad, and the ugly as we put a lively Monday, the final day of August, to bed. Be safe, be careful out there. First day of school, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program. This is the Dan Patrick Show. People weren't talking about Dallas pulling off the upset. Doc Rivers has got a problem here. Now, it's never as big a problem as the Lakers, but the Clippers might be a better all-around team than the Lakers, and you can't get everybody on the same page. You know, playoff P, Paul George, small P, hasn't done anything here.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
People often ask me, how did you grow My Shower Door so big and so fast? But the answer is, we didn't. What we did is we took our family business, we hired great talent, trained our staff, and developed our product. Now, after 17 years, My Shower Door has 8 frameless shower door showrooms, with our newest in Cape Coral. If you're looking for a frameless shower door company that you can trust and research, and you want to see more, go to myshowerdoor.com.
Brett AC is growing and needs qualified AC install technicians now.
Don't sweat. Call Brett.
This is not a sales job. If you feel like you're the best of the best, then Brett Air Conditioning wants to talk to you. Maybe you're not in the business, but know someone who is. Please tell them about this great opportunity. Great pay, great benefits, great work environment, and even a sign-on bonus. They're an equal opportunity employer.
Well, if Mr. Khan heard the interview and didn't hire me, I'm done with the Jags.
Ideal candidates must be experienced. Hold an EPA card.
Mr. Khan, if you're listening,
A valid
we
driver's
could do a
very
much,
hard.
we could do a much better job
566
personnel-wise than your current personnel department. And I mean that sincerely.
3633. Apply online at Brett Air Conditioning.
Much better job.
Don't sweat. Call Brett.
License number CAC 1819995.
1033 North Fort Myers. We are
Hey, check this out, Southwest Florida. You know that sweet trade-in deal we've been doing here at Naples Nissan? Well, it just got sweeter. If your trade-in is less than 8 years old with less than 80,000 miles on it, guess what? Naples Nissan is going to give you the original base MSRP for it. Wait, what? Yeah. So whatever that Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan, or Honda was worth 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago is exactly what it'll be worth now, but only at Naples Nissan. Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, Chevy, yep, we'll take those too. Let's see here, a brand new Nissan or that old 2012 you're driving now that needs new tires. Bluetooth, no Bluetooth. Backup camera, no backup camera. Come on, it's a no-brainer, folks. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand new Nissan today. Offers on select models with approved credit and cannot be combined.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up. Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open and ready to serve you. Our personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate, foot, knee, hip, and back pain, and provide comfort, balance, and support. The well-being of our customers, associates, and community is our highest priority. So we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives, 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
From the best headlines,
The best.
to the worst,
It's the worst thing that ever happened to anybody ever.
prepare yourself and hide the women and children. This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio.
You're live.
The good, the bad, and the ugly brought to you today by the Florida Firecats. Arrogance usually reserved for successful franchises.
Oh,
the Firecats.
Look at you. They did play for 3 titles, 1-1.
Great. They're out of business.
Yes,
The
they
owner
are.
didn't blow up, didn't burn bridges. He blew everyone up in Southwest Florida.
He did. He did.
That franchise should have done so much better
Ah.
than it did because that guy was a horse's behind.
Air
And if he were
conditioning,
standing in front of me, I'd tell him, I know he still lives here, and he is a horse's behind.
air conditioning, football, and beer. Have
Right.
no idea how it wasn't unbelievably successful.
As the Everblades are packing the place, he had sponsorship charges that were 3 times more than ours and thought he was justified. For the good, we have a woman named Karen Johnson who is very lucky. She was standing at a bus stop in Sydney, Australia, put her shopping bag down, turned to walk away from the storm that was going. She was kind of storming, and she walked away. 3 seconds later, an out of control car smashes into the bus stop, completely flattening it. The force of the crash knocked over her groceries. They were all over the ground. Has no idea what caused her to move. So I was just walking away and heard the sounds and turned back because she'd be part of that grease spot now, and it was just her groceries. So scary, but very good. For the bad, we go to Taiwan, and this ended up good. I don't know if you saw the video of this. A 3-year-old girl in Taiwan got caught up in the strings of a kite and was lifted several meters in the air. She was taking part of a kite festival in a seaside town, got caught up in a giant, long-tailed orange kite. She was twisting around before a group of adults got her back down. Fortunately, she was not hurt. I don't think she'll ever fly a kite again. Finally, the ugly. We go to Jersey, David. Seaside Park.
Whoa! For the ugly Seaside?
Seaside, at the Beach Tacos restaurant, where Bradley Rodriguez was upset in an argument over a parking spot. So he did what any normal human would do. He would go to his trunk and grabbed his spear gun to point it at the others. Don't know what kind of tacos he wanted to get. All I know is that he was arrested. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Brought to you today by the Florida Firecats.
Oh, boy.
Arrogance usually only reserved for successful franchises.
And they were pretty successful. They really were on the field.
On the field, they were very successful.
And even, and they had people that went to their games because it was football and air conditioning and beer. But honestly, should have been. You and I always joked. We really thought that we could have sold out every one of their games.
Well, you and Lapsley, who ran the arena at the time, wanted to buy the team.
Absolutely.
Frank was so frustrated in dealing with them, and he knew how successful that could have come. But they had the Milwaukee real arena football team.
Right.
And thought that this was the same league, apparently. Hey, they did do it. They put a good product on the field. I will give them that. They won.
Yeah. Ken Mastroli, who's still, I believe, in the area, was the quarterback, won him a championship.
He's a really good quarterback coach now, right?
Yep. Brandon Kornblue was their kicker for a while. He's a terrific kicking coach who still lives in the area.
Yeah, I'm not knocking the product on the field.
No, it was good. It was
I'm
good.
knocking the ownership.
They had some of the best Southwest Florida players who didn't go on to play in the NFL would, return home and played for the Firecats. Absolutely. No, I miss it, to be honest with you. I know arena football is basically a thing of the past, which is surprising if you really think about it. Here, the football's popularity's never been more and more, and yet air conditioning, football, and beer during the spring and summer has failed.
And we are really the home of arena football because if you look at the Tampa and Orlando,
yes,
it was a huge, huge arena football rivalry.
I mean, the first I-4 war was not UCF and South Florida.
No.
It was Tampa Bay and Orlando and arena football.
1 minute.
It was a true statement. There's nothing about that that's inaccurate.
Nope. They used to put as many people in those arenas as they did for Lightning and Magic games, quite frankly, when they played. The passing of John Thompson at 78. The Big East days, Raleigh Massimino, John Thompson now gone. from that era, and the Jaguars releasing Leonard Fournette.
And the passing of the Jacksonville Jaguars as a competitive football team happened over the course of the past couple of weeks.
I mean, think about it. They kept Blake Bortles, passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes at 4, and took Fournette, and yet came within 6 minutes of the Super Bowl. And it's all blown up on them.
Miller and Moulton. The Dan Patrick Show is up next. Thanks so much for listening to us right here on our home, Fox Sports Radio.
Okay, you guys have a good day. I'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, we will too.
Thank you, Jero. Appreciate it.
Why pay more for a used car or truck? When Galliano
Yeah, I do think the XFL will come back, Rich, because he paid a bunch of money for it.
Yes. And what I think the XFL is going to be is it's going to be a big reality show. They're going to do reality TV programming about the players in the league during the week and then games on the weekend. I think he's going to try to make this bigger than what it is. Reality TV off air, away from football, if you will. And then I'm curious, can he get Oliver Luck back as commissioner? Does he even want to go that route?
Why?
Well, because he had a lot of respect from a football standpoint. I'm wondering if you're The Rock, do you say, I need a football guy. You take care of the football. I'll take care of the entertainment.
If it were me, I wouldn't. Football players are going to come. I don't need to overspend on football people. That's why every one of these leagues has failed.
Right.
What the fuck do you need a coach for $500,000 a year for minor league football? You don't.
Well, I agree with that, but you can renegotiate all those deals. And
I don't think Luck's working. This is the guy who's a conference committee. He's not working for peanuts.
Well, I agree. Well, maybe you have to pay him, but you could just say to the coaches, hey, no one else is hiring you. Okay. But yeah, I think the XFL will come back. Fox has already indicated they're willing to do their TV deal. My wife just returned home. That's weird. Something must be going on.
All right. Well, I got to start working out here. It begins today, everyone. The Miller Shape-Up Plan begins today.
Wow. That should have been the
work
poll
out
question.
in, and I got to get to the driving range. There's a lot to do today, folks.
That should have been the poll question. Okay. What lasts longer? Kids actually in school going to school or the Miller Shape-Up Plan?
They're tied. They're joined at the hip, David.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's a good point.
Good night, everybody. See you, David.
All right, Mark, be good.